Newcastle United are exploring a move for RB Leipzig striker Benjamin Sesko in the event that Alexander Isak leaves. The St James Park club have a long-standing interest in Sesko, who is a top target should Isak depart, although a deal would be highly challenging from a financial perspective. Newcastle's top scorer Isak wanted to leave and was not going on the side's pre-season tour. This came after Liverpool made an approach to sign the 25-year-old, despite the Tyneside club's stance that he was not for sale. Sesko, 22, had been closely monitored by Arsenal, but the North London club opted instead for Sporting CP's Viktor Gyökeres. Sesko signed a new contract with Leipzig in June 2024, which was a one-year extension on his previous terms and was slated to keep him in Germany until 2029. His previous deal contained a release clause in the region of €65 million, with his new contract expected to include a gentleman's agreement between Sesko and Leipzig that would allow him to leave for the right project. Newcastle informed on Sesko deal costs while working on multiple deals including Wissa from Brentford. Man United rule out a move for unsettled Newcastle star Alexander Isak and other expensive options like Benjamin Sesko and Nicholas Jackson as they struggle to afford a new striker after spending more than £130 million on Brian Mbeumo and Matheus Cunha. Crystal Palace have opened the door to Mark Guéhi's departure this summer, but Liverpool are thought to be reluctant to meet his £45 million price tag. He has 1 year left on his contract. Guéhi's not interested in signing a new contract. Crystal Palace keen on Nikola Milenkovic as replacement for captain Mark Guéhi if he is to leave this summer. Arsenal are closing in on a new long-term contract extension for William Saliba, with the club hopeful of tying the French defender down to fresh terms before the start of the 2025-26 season. There is growing confidence within the club that Saliba will sign a new 4-year deal, keeping him at the Emirates Stadium until 2029. This would bring his contract in line with that of centre-back partner Gabriel Magalhaes, who penned a similar extension in June. This comes despite rumours of interest from Real Madrid, which have been fueled by agent Jibril Niang contacting the Spanish giants. Talks over Saliba's new deal have progressed in recent weeks, with negotiations ongoing between Arsenal and his representative Niang. Chelsea not actively working on Alexander Isak deal and no interest in proceeding despite reports. Chelsea very happy with their strikers and fully focused on Xavi Simons and Joel Hato deals now. The club working on Isak deal is and remains Liverpool but need to sell. Newcastle have been made aware that Isak is keen to consider his future elsewhere. Newcastle's position remains the same, however, which is that Isak is not for sale. Isak have 3 years left on his contract, with no new contract offered at this time. An offer in the region of £150 million may change that, though, especially with the knowledge that the player may want to leave. Bayern are set to make a new bid for Luis Diaz worth around €75 million. Bayern won't go higher than €80 million. Their first bid of €67.5 million was rejected. Javi Guerra has rejected Valencia's contract renewal offer and Manchester United are working to sign him. United are willing to pay £22 million. Benfica are actively trying to sign João Felix with talks now ongoing with his agent Mendes. Deal depends on Chelsea conditions but João will leave and negotiations expected to advance soon. Felix, keen on the comeback. Tottenham Hotspur have asked about signing Manchester United midfielder Kobbie Mainoo. Mainoo is keen to stay at United, but the longer he goes without agreeing a new contract, the more likely it becomes that he could be sold. Ederson agent has agreed on personal terms with Galatasaray. Despite being linked with Diogo Costa from Porto, City want to keep Ederson. Also, they are looking at a reunion with James Trafford from Burnley. Ederson publicly stated that he wants to continue with Manchester City. And Pep Guardiola also has a firm stance, and that is, if a player wants to leave, he will allow the player to leave. Now, it is up to Ederson. If he wants to leave, Pep Guardiola will allow him to leave. But, he has to inform in time for the citizens to arrange a replacement. It will be interesting to see what will happen in this Ederson transfer saga. Jadon Sancho was expected to be one of the first names out of Manchester United this summer. Talks with Juventus had started early, and the Italian club showed strong interest. It seemed like only a matter of time. Sancho wanted a new challenge. Juventus wanted him. United were ready to sell for around £25 million. And yet, here we are, late July, and he is still at Old Trafford. Juventus just signed Francisco Conceição on a permanent deal after a strong loan spell. Jadon Sancho to Juventus deal is currently on hold because the old lady must first complete outgoings to clear space and balance their finances. Only after that happens will they return to Manchester United with a formal offer. The winger remains one of 5 players given extra time off by United to explore transfer options. But until Juventus sort things out on their end, the move will remain stalled. For now, both clubs wait. But once the green light comes, Sancho could finally get the fresh start he has been hoping for. After a loan spell with Borussia Dortmund, where he played the Champions League final, and with Chelsea, where he won the Conference League, the last thing Sancho would want is to stay at United. Ruben Amorim has no plans for him, and the English winger will be looking to restart his career in Turin once this Jadon Sancho to Juventus deal goes over the line. Arsenal and Sporting, checking documents with lawyers for every detail of Victor Gyökeres deal including specific add-ons worth €10 million in total. Medical will be booked right after, it was never gonna be on Wednesday. No issues on that. The verbal agreement, 100% done. Forward Xavi Simons and defender Joel Hato are the latest players Chelsea are making progress on. Bayern Munich, Nottingham Forest, Newcastle and clubs in Italy have all registered an interest in Nkunku, while Villa are yet to receive a single realistic offer for one of their star players, Emiliano Martinez. A deal for RB Leipzig star Simons, who wants to join Chelsea and is valued at around £60 million, is dependent on at least one sale being agreed, but that should not be an issue with Nkunku now a wanted man, João Felix a target of Benfica and others, and the possibility of offers for Nicholas Jackson. Sources are confident Chelsea can strike a deal to sign Simons, but they also retain interest in Alejandro Garnacho and Morgan Rogers. Chelsea not only contacted Ajax this afternoon, but the top London club also made an official bid for Joel Hato. Florentino Perez and the board are only focused on one name, Rodri from Manchester City. Madrid will not move for any other defensive midfielder than Rodri. They are waiting for Rodri to become available in the market. Currently, Manchester City are reluctant to sell. City are working on finalising Rodri's contract extension. If the situation changes, Madrid are prepared to go as high as €100 million to bring him home. It is now a waiting game as Madrid are waiting for the right time to strike for Rodri. Manchester City are preparing a shocking £147 million bid to re-sign Cole Palmer from Chelsea. Since moving to Chelsea, Palmer has grown rapidly. Chelsea are not looking to part ways with the England star anymore. But City have been watching Palmer closely. This offer would be a Premier League record for a homegrown player. And it puts enormous pressure on Chelsea. Liverpool are pushing the most to pursue the signature of the Brazilian. However, PSG have stepped up and made the first concrete move to sign the player. PSG have already submitted a €100 million bid for Rodrigo. Luis Enrique, the PSG boss, admires Rodrigo. Several reports have suggested that Real Madrid are eyeing such a price for the player and PSG are ready to meet the demands of the Los Blancos. However, Real Madrid are yet to respond to the bid PSG submitted. They are waiting for Liverpool to see whether the Premier League champions would go higher than the Champions League winner. The Reds are in pole to sign the Brazilian and talks could start next week. Rodrigo is not a target for Tottenham. This Rodrigo transfer race is now really heating up. Chelsea are advancing in talks over personal terms with Xavi Simons. Simons is open to the move and negotiations are progressing fast ahead of club-to-club contact over a key player clause in Tottenham's summer trip to South Korea that has contributed to the uncertainty around the future of Son Heung-min. Head coach Thomas Frank last week offered no guarantees over the long-term futures of Romero or Son, who is crucial to Tottenham's trip to South Korea. Tottenham would miss out on as much as 75% of their fee for playing in Seoul if Son is not part of the touring squad. It is believed the fee would be halved were he to travel but not play in the game. Barring injury, Son will definitely travel for Spurs' pre-season tour, so that he can feature in Seoul, as Spurs would face a huge reduction in revenue gained from the match if the Korean didn't feature. Son left teammates and staff under the impression he was ready to leave Tottenham at the end of last season after winning the Europa League with the club. There has been interest from Saudi Arabia and the United States, although there have since been suggestions he is happy to stay at Tottenham, at least until January.